super soldier that got turned into a fork. I don't think I have much pity for you. Hey, my name is Kaylee. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is Read Rant Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rant reviews. Oftentimes, I'm giving you a beat-by-beat, chapter-by-chapter breakdown of a book that you guys, the audience, voted for. Last week, at least at the time of filming, 4,000 of you guys participated in the poll, which was, we haven't ruined my internet footprint in a while, let's wreak some havoc. 40% of you voted for the book Forked, which is about a World War II super soldier turned into a fork, like the utensil like you eat with. 30% voted for my Gargoyle Protector, which is like a dad's best friend romance, except dad's best friend is a gargoyle. And the last one is a Wet Hot Allosaurus Summer. Again, another 30% voted for that. And that one is about a country girl who falls in love with the local bad boy dinosaur. And because I love you guys so much, and we're having so much fun here with all of this nonsense, I will in fact be reviewing all 3 of these books. That's why you're getting this video Monday. Thursday, I'll be doing the dinosaur one, and then I'll be doing the gargoyle one eventually as well. I'll trickle it into the rotation as we move forward. So don't worry, you will in fact see all of these videos, or at least you will see a rant about all of these books. Oh, but Forked. A lighthearted utensil romance is the descriptor of it on Goodreads. 172 pages long. It really is lighthearted, so there is no content or trigger warnings. Obviously this will contain all the spoilers because I'm giving you a breakdown of the book. And this review is not for the author. Book description though, so that you know what you're about to get into. Is that an earthquake, or is your fork happy to see you? Imagine a World War II super soldier and his unit were trapped in cutlery by the government, and the only way that they could transform back was by being intimate with a woman. Shortly after moving to a new city, Mercedes buys a set of antique silverware from an estate sale and discovers that she has a preference for one particular fork. Is the man who appears when the fork disappears real or a salacious fantasy? Are you open-minded enough to accept him as is and fall in love with a fork? Find out how far Mercedes is willing to go to save him and his friends in the follow-on books in the series, Spooned and Knifed. Cautionary, the spicy scenes in this novella are purely fictional. Please do not attempt to reenact any of them at home. I don't want to hear that my readers FAFO, forked around and found out. Tines hurt. Let's keep forks on the table where they belong. The shenanigans that I read for you guys. If you're new to my channel, by the way, I guess before I get into this, I would just like to say, hey, hey, it's not always this weird. It's not always like this. I do read like classic books, we do some sci-fi, we do dark romance. Honest to God, you really don't ever know what you're gonna get. Like from one week to the next, it is truly a roll of the dice of what shenanigans that we're gonna get into. So don't judge me. We're just here to have a good time. Don't make it weird, you know what I'm saying? I think that's it. The only other thing, same shout outs as usual. My primary spot is on YouTube, but I do have links to Apple Podcasts and Spotify in the description box below if you want to check me out over there. Always appreciate the support from you guys anywhere I can get it. You guys are all phenomenal. And I have memberships available on this channel if you want ad-free content on YouTube, or if you want some behind the scenes content. I try to post 2 videos a month for just my book besties tier, and usually it's just some random shenanigans. I couldn't even tell you what I usually do over there. But back to the book, getting into it. Note to my readers: you may ask yourself, how does an author go from writing romances about billionaires to utensils? I could try to come up with a funny response to the question, but here's the truth. I'm the youngest of 11 children. My parents have been gone for over a decade, and last year I lost another one of my siblings, and it was hard. Very hard. I read a silly book about a door, which is Unhinged by Vera Valentine, I would imagine. Shout out to Natalie from Weirdo Book Club and Lexi from aka Newly Nova, who have covered those books. I don't think I'll ever do a book by Vera Valentine just because those two have covered all of the big ones, but I'll do more sentient object romances eventually, don't you worry. Okay, so I read a silly book about a door, and it made me laugh during a time when I was finding it difficult to. I told my youngest daughter about the book, not the details, just the premise. She joked that I should write about something just as ridiculous. And since we were out to eat, she suggested a fork romance. We laughed until we were holding our sides as we came up with the perfect backstory of how a man might become a fork. And, of course, he had to be someone spectacular when he reverted back to being a man. I have laughed every single time I sat down to write this book, and the process has been good for my soul. It's not a story that's meant to be taken seriously. I wrote it to help me find my smile again, and I hope it lifts the moods of those who read it. Which, again, I love. We're not here to take anything too serious, right? If you're on my channel, you should know that by now. We're just here for a giggle, escape the world for a little while, for, an hour or two with me a couple times a week. I loved that. I went into it, I said, oh, good, we're not taking ourselves seriously, and this isn't some weird thing that I don't want to know about. We're just having a good time. In chapter 1, we're in Providence, Rhode Island, 2024, and we meet Mercedes. Like we said, she's new to the city, and this particular time she is back on the elevator in her apartment, and she is running into, yet again, this really, really hot stranger who lives on a couple of floors above her. But she's never really had much of a conversation with him, but she definitely keeps track of him. 23 rides in the elevator together, 8 with several other tenants, 6 with one other person, 9 with just me, and 0 interaction other than a nod and greeting. And so she's like, hypes herself up about it. She's like, okay, this is going to be the day. I have to say hello to him. I can't just sit here forever and always, fantasize or think about this guy. I need to make a move. I need to make friends. I need to put myself out there. So she says, hi, I'm Mercedes. Hi, he answers in a friendly tone. I can do this. I clear my throat. I know you don't know me, but I see you ride your bike on the weekends, and tomorrow is Saturday. I have a bike. It's in storage, but I could get it out, and I was thinking that we could go for a ride together sometime. Sure. He answers without looking at me. Okay, when would you like to do this? Tomorrow? That sounds good. Oh my God, did he just say yes to me? It's a date then. Listen, I'm in the elevator and not alone, so let's bang out the details via email. Sure? Sounds good. I'll have that over to you by Monday. What? Who is he talking to? Heat warms my face. Not me, that's who. He's on the phone. Did he hear anything I just said? This is so bad. And so he gets off the phone and he's like, were you trying to talk to me? And she says, no. And then she's like, she tries to save it because she's like, well, I do want to talk to him though. I still need to do something. And so then she tells him that she has his mail, not on her, but it got put into her mailbox downstairs and it's up in her apartment. And so she'll bring it to him sometime. And he says, oh, thanks. I'd really appreciate that. And then they just go on about their merry ways. And so in chapter 2, she's back into her apartment freaking out because obviously she doesn't have this man's mail. She just made that up. So she's talking to her cat Mike, who she's not allowed to have. He's just this giant fur ball that she's keeping a secret from the apartment complex. She loves this cat very, very much. He eats on the table with her. She's treating him to this high-end fresh food, cut up chicken breast cutlets. You know what I'm saying? This cat is very, very well loved. And she is spiraling, recounting this interaction that she had with the hot guy in the elevator. Doesn't even know his name, by the way. She identifies him by Mr. apartment number. And she's thinking, according to my parents, I always hyperanalyzed everything. I crawled longer than the doctors thought I should have because falling looked painful. Toilet training was terrifying as soon as I imagined what would happen if my bare bottom touched the water and I was sucked away by an accidental flush. Don't even get me started on how I could have turned 24 and still not have had sex with anyone. Have you ever seen photos of what venereal diseases can do to a woman's labia? If you haven't, save yourself and don't, because it only leads you down a rabbit hole of treatment options and photos that still haunt me years after viewing them. Those images are part of the reason why I'm still a virgin, but I have to put them behind me. I mean, crawling hadn't been a lifelong option. I've conquered my fear of toilets. How difficult could it be to fuck someone? I've already chosen the man. That man is Mr. Room 414. Oh, I said, oh, okay, we are. It's only 170 pages. Of course, we're getting right down to it, but good God, woman. And so she, having all this internal thought, Mike, the cat, right, meows at me when I leave the table to retrieve my own dinner. He's judging me. I'm glad I can't understand you, I say. I don't want you to talk to me out of this plan. On my way to the table, I stop and retrieve my favorite fork from the dish rack beside the sink. I have an entire case of silverware and have never cared much about which utensil I use, but there's something special about this fork. It's old-fashioned and sterling silver. It's perfectly weighted with solid tines that feel good in my mouth. Prior to owning this set, I didn't understand how different sterling silver would feel from stainless steel. It's heavier and warmer, and somehow making the act of eating something as simple as a plain chicken feel like an indulgence. Ew. Sorry, I love the way that it feels on my lips and how it slides over my tongue. Jesus Christ. Holding the fork in one hand, I meet my cat's gaze. This is why I have to have sex with someone, Mike. I'm beginning to find inanimate objects sexy. I watched a video once about some guy who found his car really attractive, like really, really attractive. Clearly, he was mentally ill. I chuckle and then sober and look at the fork. Like, I like this fork, but I don't think I like this fork. Sure, it's my favorite, but I could probably mix it up with the other forks and not know the difference. I like the feel of expensive cutlery. That's all. They move on, continuing to have a little bit of back and forth, and she's thinking about how she's going to lie to this total stranger about having his mail, and again regretting this lie because it's not like she can make his mail magically appear. So now she's just in this like really, really weird predicament, and she's talking through this with Mike, and then she's realizing, what if he's allergic to you and I can't tell him about you because we can't trust him yet, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then she says, no, I'm gonna do this. She's saying all of this out loud. I'm going to do this. I refuse to overthink myself right into another year of virginity. The fork in my hand vibrates, or my reaction to the idea of another birthday coming and going alone is so strong that my hand won't stop shaking. No, it's the fork moving. I drop it to the table. It stops moving. Of course it does, because forks don't do anything on their own until it starts moving again. So then she starts freaking out because she's like, oh my God, it must be an earthquake. That's the only explanation. And she goes to dive under the table. Goes to dive under the table, and she's trying to grab her cat. As she is crawling under the table, this pair of boots appears in front of her. These like really fancy polished boots. And she says, did somebody just break into my... I know I shut the door, and I know that this isn't Mr. Apartment 414's boots because I see in his shoes all the time, and he dresses nice, but not this nice. Like, this is really, really weird. And then she's like, okay, oh shit, it's probably like an intruder then. Like somebody just like broke into my house, and she starts like scrambling around to try and find the fork because a knife would be better to stab someone with, but something is better than nothing. But the fork is nowhere to be seen. And I felt like one of those like the sound effects where it's like your body gets like yanked backwards in like a TV show, and it's like, whoom, and you teleport somewhere. I feel like I just went on like a time travel to the Behooved review that I did not that long ago when the guy turned into a horse in front of her and she didn't realize that was who that was. It took her forever to piece it together that a man just doesn't magically disappear and a horse magically appear. Literally, it's like deja vu. She scurries out from under the table because if she can't find the fork, she's got to make a run for it. Bonks her head really, really hard. And then at this point, she sees him, and he is beautiful, and he's in this like really outdated uniform, and she's like, oh my God, is he into cosplay? I could dig that. And then she's like looking around, and she's like, am I dead? Like, that's the only explanation for what's happening. And he says, this isn't heaven. For a while I thought it might be, but this is definitely somewhere else. She says, okay, so if I'm not dead and you're not dead and you're in my apartment, this must just be like a crazy dream. And then she's like, come on, Mercedes, slapping her cheeks. She's like, come on, wake up. And he says, what year is it? Time traveling delusion. That's where you were taking this? Okay, brain, I see you're struggling. Is this like a puzzle I have to solve for me to wake up? Sure. What year is it? He asks again. 2024. And where are we? In my apartment in Providence, Rhode Island? Did we win the war? Did we win against Japan? I shrug. Win? World War II. Not sure why I'm fantasizing about a soldier when I've never even stayed awake during an entire war movie, but I'm willing to play along to wake up. We did. We dropped a bomb on Japan, and that pretty much ended the war. What kind of bomb? An atomic one. He sways on his feet, and then he steadies himself by holding on to the back of a chair. We were told that would never happen. Chapter 3. We're in Hugh's POV. He's in London, May 8th, 1945. We've won the war, at least this part of it. Germany surrendered. Churchill declared today a public holiday. People are dancing in the streets, and every Allied soldier is being heralded a hero. except my unit. Our existence and participation in supporting our military is top-tier classified information. We knew when we signed up there that there would be no fame for us, and that was okay. And so they're at this like very, very fancy dinner. Him and his troop, his team, right? They put on their dress uniforms of a military that we're not officially members of. All for what? Is the Inkwell project coming to an end, or is this just the beginning of a new phase of it? Technically, the war is over, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the Inkwell project, which is what they are a part of, they don't know if maybe that's over or if there is going to be more missions and whatnot for them to go on anyway. And so they end up having a bit of back and forth about, I hope it's over because, you know, pretty much like, I want to go hook up with women. Like, we haven't done anything with a woman in a long time. And everyone's being heralded as heroes and everybody's getting some tonight and we should too. But there's hesitation because they haven't been with anybody since their like procedure or since whatever it is, since joining the project. But they still talk about maybe sneaking out tonight and going and celebrating anyway, depending on how this next dinner thing goes with the higher ups or whoever the heck that they're supposed to be meeting with. Hugh kind of quiets everybody down and he tells them to not talk about that, not talk about sneaking out and doing XYZ. He says, don't talk about it here. We'll return to our rooms, change into something less likely to catch anyone's attention and do this right. Edward is correct that we need to be careful, and not just regarding getting caught. We're stronger than we used to be, and different in many ways that we might not know yet. I've watched some of you change color while you sleep. Don't drink, don't get sloppy, be sober, be kind. Edward motions for me to stop talking and pay attention. I freeze and then I follow his gaze. We're alone. The director is gone. The waitstaff is as well. There's an eerie calm like one that happens just before the lightning strikes. I rise to my feet. The rest of the unit does as well. Ray says something that doesn't sound like an apology. A flash blinds me, and then there's nothing. A flash blinds me, and then there's nothing. Cut to Hugh's POV from 2024. Nothing, that is, until the first time I felt her touch. Sometimes warm and comforting, sometimes hot and wet. The scent and taste of her filled my senses until it felt like we were alone. Time became irrelevant. There was only her and the absence of her. The small brunette before me has my eyes as wild as her hair and clothing, so baggy I might have confused her with the opposite sex, despite looking disheveled. Yeah, fricker. There's somebody that keeps track of every time I say disheveled instead of disheveled. Well, there you go. I said it right this time. She appears clean. I look around her tidy living space. There are some items I don't recognize, but the hiss from the orange cat on the table is familiar. Dogs love me. Cats, not so much. Once, on a dare, I paid a circus psychic 50 cents for a reading. She warned me to stay away from the lion cage because the past and the future are intertwined, and cats can sense the supernatural. She also told me to remember that if I chose to regain something I had yet to lose, the price would be losing everything I knew. I laughed off the nonsense, but if the woman before me isn't lying, 80 years have passed since the award dinner that I attended in London. I flex my right hand. It's as it was back then, right down to the white line at the base of my trigger finger. What happened back in London? Where's the rest of my unit? Why am I in Rhode Island? So he looks at her. He says, come here. She's a little, flummoxed. Why was that the word that I came up with in my head? She's a little freaked out by that. Not in like a bad way freaked out. She just like baffled because this really, really hot guy is telling her to come here, you know? But he closes the distance between them and he says, I need to know. The moment our lips touch, the questions swirling through my head cease to matter. Everything beyond her fades away until she feels necessary for my very existence. They get really into making out, and then he has to pull himself away all dramatically because he's like, I don't know if I should apologize or demand that she release me from whatever spell she has me under. In Chapter 4, back in Mercedes' POV. So that just happened. It's like so millennial coded. I kissed a figment of my imagination and I liked it. I really liked it. I'm not sure I can ever find another man attractive after that kind of kiss. I'm losing my mind. And so she's like, okay, I'm literally losing my mind. If I'm not dead, if this isn't a figment of my imagination, then I must be hallucinating. And so she pulls out her phone to try and Google something. And he's like, what is that? She's a phone? He's like, I've never seen a phone do that. She's like, it would take a lot to explain to you. Just trust me. And she ends up Googling like what what does a person have if they start to hallucinate? And of course, she's a worrywart, right? We already talked about this in the beginning. So she ends up going on this like spiral of like, oh my God, I have epilepsy or schizophrenia or Parkinson's and blah, blah, blah. And like all of cancer, of course, hey, you know how it is. If you're a hypochondriac, you understand. And again, he's still... I can't believe this phone in her hand. He's like, I've never seen anything like that. She's like, it's basically a computer, like a little computer. You've seen those, right? He says, yeah. And she's like, okay, yeah. So it's connected through the air to the computers all around the world that share information. What time period are you from? I was born in 1920. Sure. And you're now 25. Me too. Well, not really. I'm 24, not 5. September 2nd, 1945. That's when World War II ended. September? And it ended with the dropping of an atomic bomb? 2, actually. I grimace, do a quick search for how World War II ended, and then I turn the phone for him to read it. He does, and then he says, more. What happened next? Just swipe up. He gives me a long look, and I move my finger across the screen to show him, and that's all it takes for him to scan the rest of the page about the end of the war. Look up Project Inkwell, he demands. I frown. You're pushy for someone that I'm imagining. The smile he flashes me holds no warmth. Do it. I search, and then I show him the results. You're interested in learning how to express yourself through writing? He shakes his head and growls, look again, reference World War II. Nothing. The Manhattan Project keeps coming up, some atomic bomb testing in Mexico in July of 1945. Show me. I give him a pointed look that he doesn't appear to understand at first until he does. Please, he says impatiently. I hand him the phone, not sure it won't simply drop to the floor, but it doesn't. He reads, swipes for more, then reads the article to the end. He stops and looks at me. How do I ask it something? You type your question in the search bar, or you can ask it aloud if you touch this. Where is Hugh Emerson? He says louder than necessary into the phone. None of these are me. He presses the microphone icon again and says, where is Jack Sully? Looking more frustrated with each name he searches for, until he tosses the phone back to me and I catch it. Who are these people? People who might know what happened to me. I don't understand any of this. Why am I here? How am I here? Where is everyone else? He searches my face. I know you. You've been part of whatever this is for a while now. How? Where was I until a few minutes ago? And how are you connected to me? I put my phone in my sweatpants' side pocket and I raise my hands on surrender. I don't know what you're talking about. I have never met you before today, and honestly, I'm still trying to figure out if you're real. He looms over me and takes one of my hands in his. I'm both terrified and more than a little turned on. I know your hand. He runs a thumb across my bottom lip. I know your mouth. Jesus Christ. He's like, sorry. The like premise of this is so crazy, and also I don't ever read stuff like this out loud for you guys, so this is weird. Runs his thumb across my bottom lip. I know your mouth, the taste of you, the feel of you. I crave it. Why? My voice sounds strangled as I say, I must be asleep on the couch and this is all a dream. Thankfully I live alone, so there's no one to judge me if I wake up humping one of the cushions. His eyebrows arch and then lower. You're an odd woman. And you're not living up to the fantasy part of this. This is my sex dream. Shouldn't you say nice things to me? He drops my hand. How did I get here? You just appeared. Poof? Like that? Yes. No, well, not exactly. I was eating and my fork started vibrating. I thought it was an earthquake. I dropped the fork. Mike threw it on the floor. I hate when he does that. And I was looking for it when I saw you. I don't see a fork on the floor. It's somewhere. Forks don't just magically disappear. Oh no. No, they don't. He shakes his head. Yesterday, did you lick the entire length of the fork? No, I deny automatically, even though a memory of me doing exactly that comes back to me. He buries a hand in my hair, pulls me closer, tips my head back, so I'm forced to meet his gaze. Don't lie to me. He says, oh my God, would you punish me if I did? Answer the question. Yes. Yes, I licked the handle of the fork. I was using it to eat ice cream, and some dropped onto my fingers. I know I should use a spoon, but there's something about that fork. Everything tastes better on it. He's like, where did you get the fork from? An estate sale. He says, did it come in a set, or was it alone? A set. Where is it? I lead him toward my kitchenette to the velvet-lined wooden box that I'd left the rest of the silverware in. He picks up the box and holds it to read a small brass label on the front of it. Inkwell. That's the name of the project you asked me to look up. Yes. He places the box down, opens it, and studies its contents. This is the silverware we used at the award ceremony. I remember thinking how unnecessarily fancy it was. What award ceremony? He shook his head rather than answering me, and then looked at his right hand. None of this seems possible, but I've seen impossible and become it. I don't understand how this happened or if anyone else survived, but I will find out. He closes the box. And you're going to help me. Oh my God. Chapter 5, Hugh's POV, Boston, Massachusetts, 1941. Hugh is missing a finger. He had an accident when he was a child. With an axe, he accidentally chopped off one of his fingers. It made him ineligible to join the military. Didn't really make sense. He was strong and healthy and like whatever otherwise. So one day when he comes across a flyer that has like no information on it other than a picture of this fierce looking eagle and words that say, Uncle Sam needs every bird in the air. Support the troops by learning a specialized skill. With your help, they will be invincible. Sign up today to save the world. No address, but directions to this building and to this door. So he rings the doorbell. They ask him his name. He says it to them, and they whisk him away, and he gets the feeling that they already know exactly who he is. A tall man in civilian clothing appears and greets me with a handshake. He has a stack of papers with him. This is a top secret operation, he says. I can't tell you much until after you signed on. I can say, though, that this is dangerous. Not everyone will come home. I stand straighter and I hold his gaze. Will I see battle? Not on the front lines. Our work will be done in the shadows of the war, but it is every bit as essential as firing a bullet. In fact, it might play a larger role in the outcome of the war than any one battle could. Which branch of service is this for? His lips pressed together. Technically, the Army, Air Forces. However, due to the sensitive nature of what will be tasked to do, your family will need to believe that you died before you ship out. It's for their safety as well as ours. Only until the end of the war? Of course. And what we're doing will support our troops? You'll be heroes. Where do I sign? Chapter 6, Hugh, somewhere in England, 4 months later. In a musty gymnasium of an abandoned school in the outskirts of London, I take my place in the center of a circle of men, many of whom I've come to consider friends. I catch a quick glimpse of my hand, intact again, with just a little white circle as the reminder that my trigger finger hadn't always been there. Every man in the room had once felt the shame of not being fit enough for the military. Even our American director lost a leg early in the war and was medically discharged before joining the program. Like us, sitting at home while the world went to hell wasn't something that he could accept. Not all of us made it to England, but we were all told of the risks. Some died immediately after the first injection. They were the lucky ones. They went quickly. Others saw initial good results from the weekly injections. Like the rest of us, their bodies began to regenerate and heal. One man who had severe asthma his whole life had been able to breathe easily again. Something changed, though, halfway through the treatments. Some of us gained increased strength and began to heal faster and with less pain. Those we lost in the second wave went in the opposite direction. They began to deteriorate at a cellular level, slowly and without hope of recovery. For a while, we lived in this quiet fear that we would be next, but most of us kept improving. Faster, stronger, even our senses became more acute. A deep cut that would have once taken weeks to heal now took mere hours. Supplements were introduced to decrease our need for sleep and increase our attention span. We lost a few more men to madness. One day they seemed normal, and the next they attacked someone without provocation. Those who raised concerns were removed, and I have no idea what happened to them. Most of us who remain have secretly agreed to dispose of the supplements rather than take them. The pills went down the toilets, into planters, dropped into sewers, anywhere but into us. Our director called us soldiers, but we aren't officially enlisted. Our only fear was dying before we had the chance to fight for our country and the free world. I look around and say loudly, Jack? He joins me in the middle. 14 against 2, my favorite odds. Combat training with men who could heal meant that there were few rules. The last one, or 2, standing 1. The prize? Badass bragging rights and the honor of choosing who fought beside him the next day. And the rest of the chapter is this 2 against 14 all-out brawl that they have, just showing the super strength and quick healing and, you know, the nonsense of what this program has done to these poor men's bodies. In chapter 7, from Mercedes' POV, still 2024. My imaginary friend is neither leaving nor showing much interest in me. He's been standing at the window looking at the city for the past 15 or so minutes. As far as fantasies go, this one is disappointingly uneventful. Maybe I should call a doctor. He talks about seeing, these cars and how big they are, and he asks if everybody has one. She says yes. He's like, what about horses? Do you have a horse? And she says, well, I rode one once when I was 7. And he is asking her about her parents, if they're still alive, because she referenced them kind of weird. And then he's like, well, I'm sure my parents are dead. I'm sure everyone that I've ever known is long dead by now. And she's like, you're taking being alone pretty well. And he's like, fear holds people back. Yeah, that's what my parents told me my whole life, but I am who I am, though, and I'm used to never being enough. Which I would be like, what, girl? You got it, man. Hold on. This is a character issue that I have with this woman. You got this man. I mean, I guess she thinks it's her imagination, so of course it's still going to be about her. This guy is saying that he's from the war and all of his family is dead, and you're over here going to be like, but I'm so self-conscious and nobody loves me because I'm a virgin, because I'm scared of things. Girl, he is a super soldier that got turned into a fork. I don't think I have much pity for you. Anyway, after she says this, I'm used to never being enough. He turns fully toward me and my breath catches. The metals on his broad chest sparkle. He's not only taller than Mr. Room 414, but he also has a stronger presence. I want to be lifted in the air by him and spun around. I want to be bent, oh my God, one of those strong arms of his and kissed until it doesn't matter if he's real or not. I remember that feeling all too well. I wasn't fit to serve in the regular army. At least that's what my denial paperwork stated. That was a tough time. You look healthy. I am. Now. What was wrong with you? Rather than answering me, he walks over and looks down into my eyes. What's your name? Mercedes. Mercedes Hopper. Nice to meet you. Mercedes. Mercedes Hopper. My name is Hugh Emerson. She's like, what branch of the military were you in? He explains that he was not in any branches and that these were only given to me as a distraction to make sure that we were all exactly where they wanted us to be, which is a crazy sentence. And she's like, I don't know what that means. And he says, you don't need to, but you will help me. And I need to find out exactly what happened in London. She says, oh, I get it. This is my subconscious sabotaging my plan because I'd rather have a mental breakdown than risk being turned down by the upstairs neighbor. Well, joke's on you. I'm still going to steal his mail and go upstairs to see him. Like you said, all fear does is hold a person back. Are you unwell? Probably. He rubs his chin with one hand. Have you considered the possibility that I'm here to help you find your confidence? Like a guardian angel? Something like that. I don't know if I want one. It was bad enough when everything only made me anxious. If I'm delusional, I'll have to start taking medicine. And I don't even like to take pills for a headache. How about you go away and we both pretend that you were never here? I wish that were possible. Then he's like, who's the guy upstairs? Just the most gorgeous, the second most attractive man that I've ever met. He lives upstairs and I've been trying to get him to notice me. Dressed like that? My head snaps back. Rude. Sorry, he smiles. My sense of fashion is likely outdated. Has society become afraid of the female form because you're concealing all of yours? I work from home and I like being comfortable. It's one of the perks. So you choose to dress that way? My hands go to my hips. Times have changed, mister. Men no longer tell women what to wear. Banter back and forth about dressing however you want to dress. He slips in a little flirty innuendo at some point, and then he also goes on to say, I bet if you wore a dress, you'd easily catch the neighbor's attention. You're not bad looking. She says, first, you're horrible at giving compliments. And second, I don't wear dresses because I feel ridiculous in them. Then you've never worn the right one. He smiles, or worn it for the right man. I fold my arms across my chest, feeling both understood and exposed at the same time. I wish you were real. His expression turns serious. I wish there weren't things that are more important than how I feel about anything. What kinds of things are you talking about? Let's make a deal. I'll help you get your man if you help me find my friends. And so then this is so dumb. In a good way. This is genuinely interesting and the writing's not bad and the banter's actually kind of cute. This is genuinely not a bad book if you're just wanting to pass time and just enjoy the sheer nonsense of it all. She continues to be in denial about him being real or not, though, which is starting to get a little annoying. So hopefully this is the last time it gets mentioned. Because he says, you might be right that I'm not real, but even if I'm not, as long as I help you overcome your fear and catch your neighbor's eye, what does it matter? How do you feel about breaking into someone's mailbox? At this point, to find out what happened to my friends, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. In chapter 8, we're back in Hugh's POV during wartime, and they're going on this mission that went awry. 14. That's how many of us are left out of over 50 men. What we're doing matters, though. So we'll keep fighting until the very last one of us is gone. And no one will escape us. Not even today. Not ever. Because they're going to get revenge on the people that attacked his team. I paused mid-stride. Is this how every soldier thinks, or am I losing my humanity? I'm glad the program faked my death. I wouldn't want my family to know the man that I'm becoming. Oh my God, that's so sad. So obviously there was a lot to I only read the very, very ending of that chapter. The beginning of it was just descriptions of this scene and them trying to get away from this like really horrible situation. It's nothing too graphic or like gory of detail. It's just war stuff that I don't care to recount to you. But if you want to read it, this is on Kindle Unlimited. And like I said, this is genuinely not a bad I do recommend it, dude. Go show some love to Ruth Cardello and her other books. This is so fun. Chapter 9, back into Mercedes POV, obviously Providence, Rhode Island, 2024. They are still having their conversation, and she thinks that he's about to kiss her again, and right before he does, she's like, why can't you be the guy from upstairs? And he's like, excuse me? Yeah, I mean, you're hot and everything, but I'm not into military men, and you're a German Shepherd guy when my preference is Golden Retriever. If this is my dream, then shouldn't you be the man that I've spent months thinking about? Months, huh? Have you considered that this might not be a dream? Well, the alternative is that I've been so lonely lately that my mind created an imaginary friend, and I don't want that to be true. Or I'm real. That would mean I somehow didn't notice you enter my apartment, so instead of just appearing, you walked in dressed like that and talking as if you're from the past and time traveled or something, all of which would imply that you're the one who's mentally unstable. Instantly, this situation would go from confusing yet sexy to kind of terrifying. So we're sticking with this being a dream? I nod slowly. He steps away and I'm completely devastated, because she really wanted another smooch. And then she's like, wait a second, if you're from, 1945, if that's the last thing you remembered, have you seen a TV before? He says, yeah, I've only ever seen one. They said everybody would have one in the future. And she says, okay, well, let's watch a movie together. What are you talking about? This is not helping with the male or his friends. We had a mission, guys. What are we doing? What are any of us doing right now? And so he's like, well, can I get comfortable? She's like, yeah, please. He starts stripping because he's in his dress uniform. There's a lot of layers to a military dress uniform. And so he's loosening his tie, taking off his jacket, taking off his shoes, some of his other stuff, just finally getting a little comfy. And she's just, ogling this man and drooling over how attractive he is. And she says, what kind of movie do you want to watch? Something set during this time period. I'd like to see how much the world has and hasn't changed. Can you stomach a romantic comedy? Is that what you like? I shrug. Sometimes. I just don't really like to watch anything sad because reality is often sad enough. Okay, girl. That's why we're reading these silly, goofy books. I'm glad we're all on the same page here. He says, do you have a favorite? I do, but it's an oldie. Not as old as you are, but maybe 20 or so years. It's my comfort movie. Then I'd like to see it. It's corny, but her yearning for a family hits every time. Because you miss your own? Because I don't. I always wanted the kind of family that chooses to be together. My parents are good people, but I just kind of happened to them and they stepped up and were responsible, yet as soon as I was old enough to be on my own, they started smiling. What do you mean they started smiling? What do you mean they started smiling? I don't resent that. I just hold on. I'm so. What are you talking about? Oh, they were happy finally? They stepped up, and then as soon as I was old enough to be on my own, they started smiling. I guess because they didn't want to be responsible for her, right? That's how that is supposed to be read. I would almost read it, though, that it was yeah, I guess that makes sense. I just think I have never seen a parental reaction phrased in such a way. Anyway, she's like, I don't resent that. I just wish... Come here, he says in a deep voice. My eyes fly up to meet his. He raises his arm and waves me over to his side. If we're going to watch a movie about wishing things were better than they are, I'll need a hug too. Aww. This is so cute. And so then they all get cuddled up all close and she says, Hugh, I don't want to wake up from this dream. He inhales deeply, his chest rising and falling against me. Good, because I don't think we can. And the movie they end up watching is the 1990 film romantic comedy While You Were Sleeping, featuring Sandra Bullock. Maybe this adds context. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't watch movies. I don't. It honestly like baffles people the amount of movies and movie references and stuff that I don't get, because I just never did growing up. I literally never had any interest, and I still don't to this day. So if you are like me and you have no idea, or if you're too young to really know, While You Were Sleeping is a romantic comedy, blah, blah, blah. Bullock plays Lucy Moderatz, a lonely transit worker who saves the life of her handsome crush, Peter, after he falls onto train tracks. He ends up in a coma, and due to a misunderstanding at the hospital, his family believes that Lucy is his fiancée. As Lucy spends time with his family, she finds herself drawn to Peter's charming brother, Jack. The film explores the complications that arise from this mistaken identity as Lucy navigates her feelings for Jack while maintaining the charade with Peter and his family. Oh my god, so a bunch of shenanigan nonsense there. And that's kind of what Hugh's reaction is. When the heroine of the movie is celebrating Christmas with the family of her fake fiancé, Hugh tilts his head and looks at me. That's the kind of family that you wish you had? Isn't that what everybody wants? I don't know. Not anymore. You think Loverboy upstairs can give you that? Maybe. I shrug. There's only one way to find out. To steal his mail. I elbow his ribs. It's not technically stealing, since I'm gonna give it right back to him. You have a complicated moral compass. I choose to take that as a compliment. It wasn't an insult, merely an observation. She makes him a sandwich, and he's like, oh my god, this is so good. How are you single? You, sir, have outdated expectations of gender roles. Women don't cook anymore. His grin is so damn sexy, I have trouble remembering why I'm annoyed. I like it when you call me sir. Are you even listening to me? I can see I have my work cut out for me. Has flirting also fallen out of fashion? My mouth drops open. Of course it hasn't, and I'm very good at flirting when it's someone I'm interested in. Really? Pretend I'm your upstairs lover boy. What would you say to me right now? Okay, this is what I mean. This is kind of cute. Low-key, I'm not gonna lie. This is kind of fun. They continue to flirt back and forth until she gets frustrated because she's like, I'm trying to understand this dream and I don't get it. I don't understand what you're doing here, and why am I torturing myself with you, and where's my favorite fork? Girl, chill. And so finally he says, he tells her outright, he says, I was your favorite fork. You were what? Your favorite fork. I can't explain how or why I was in the silverware, but that's why we don't feel like strangers. I know the taste of you. I've been in your mouth so many times. You've held me, licked me, washed me. I start to laugh and then choke. The temperature in the room soars. If this is you trying to show me how to flirt again, no, it's the truth. I thought letting you believe this was a dream would help, but it's only confusing you more. This is real. In 1945, I was at an award dinner with my unit. Sorry, I can't take this seriously. In 1945, I was at an award dinner with my unit. Something happened that night that I thought ended all of our lives, but it didn't. It put me in that box and kept me in some kind of suspended animation until you set me free. From being silverware? Yes. As my fork, you were part of a government secret super soldier program? I was. And you joined it because it was the only way that you could serve in World War II? Exactly. So your origin story is the same as Captain America? God, I'm so unoriginal. I don't know a Captain America. Blah, 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 blah. This is so stupid. And she tells him to go away. And she's like, I'm going to close my eyes and count to 10 and you better disappear. And then he's like, Mercedes, I'm not going anywhere. I need your help. And I feel like we're getting slightly repetitive, even though I enjoy the banter. I want this girl to stop being stupid. She's starting to irritate me. It's so fun. Finally, she agrees to help him, and she says, could this be my origin story? I don't know what that means, but sure, it can be your story. The one where you solve a puzzle and get the guy. The guy? The upstairs lover boy. This is so stupid. Oh my god. We're already 40% of the way through the book. We're in chapter 10 from Hugh's POV, still in current day. Her eyes fill with confusion and hurt. I'm an ass. She's attracted to me, and damned if I'm not attracted to her too. The temptation to sweep her into my arms and carry her off to the bedroom is strong, but it's a distraction that I can't allow, not yet. I shouldn't have snuggled with her on the couch. All that achieved was to remind me how long it's been since I was with a woman. The hunger in her eyes has me imagining some inappropriate things. And eventually he admits, he's like, it's not that I don't find you attractive. I do. Nothing can happen between us because I want you to be safe. It wouldn't be safe for you. Safe? My objective is murky, even to me. He's thinking this part. If she were a friend's sister, I'd gently tell her that if the man upstairs hadn't noticed her yet, he didn't deserve her. Why settle for less than someone who lights up when they see you? But I also don't want her to see me as a viable option. I'm not. Sure, I'm not handling any of this well, but waking up 80 years in the future can mess with a person's head. I'm strong, maybe too strong. All of us were afraid to have sex after our treatments because we didn't want to hurt anyone. We vowed to wait until we knew a woman could survive it. Oh my God. She says, oh. So although I appreciate the snuggle earlier, I would never risk your safety. That's good. She asks, how did you get this way? What did they do to you guys in terms of like this whole crazy strength that he has or that they all had to be afraid of and whatnot? And so he tells her about like regrowing limbs and how they all heal super fast and everything that happened. But kind of some of the stuff that we've gotten from his little flashback POVs, he finally explains to her more clearly. That must have been terrifying, but you didn't quit. You kept working for them? I didn't have a choice, but even when I had been given one, I wanted to be there. We were making a difference. At least, we thought we were. I'm sorry. Don't be. Life is like that sometimes. What we want to happen isn't always possible. You feel real? Because I am. Okay, let's do this. Let's find out what happened to your unit. How? We'll start with my laptop. And then he's like, what's a laptop? And then she's like, it's a computer, but it fits on your lap. I don't. And so... Okay, wait. Okay. Jesus Christ. So she starts Googling these different things, and they're using like AI, and she acknowledges how crappy AI is, and he's like, that sounds really scary. And she's like, low-key it kind of is, but it's happening anyway, whether we want it to or not. And he says, kind of like the atomic bomb. And I said, whoa, that got real deep real fast. This is supposed to be a hee-hee-ha-ha funny book. Don't be talking about that. So she hands him the laptop with this like AI thing pulled up for her to be able to ask whatever he wants to ask to it. Because obviously he doesn't really know how to Google things, nor does she. And so they're hoping maybe this AI can kind of help them through figuring whatever happened out, right? I think about my last moments in 1945 and the technology I heard was being experimented with. The Philadelphia experiment sounded implausible when I had heard about it, but I was living proof that some things don't need to sound possible to happen. So I type, could a magnetic blast turn someone into silverware? The screen changes and a response appears. Theoretically, a blast of a magnetic field could cause the atoms or molecules of someone to break their chemical bonds and reform in a new configuration. Is there any evidence of anyone being turned into an inanimate object by a magnetic field weapon? Such a concept is purely fictional and belongs in the realm of works of fantasy or science fiction. The human body is composed of complex biological matter that cannot be reconfigured into metal by any current technology. At my side, Mercedes says, don't get discouraged. Even AI has limits. It wouldn't have access to the government secrets unless they're unclassified. I know some documents are automatically declassified. Ask where we can find declassified documents. I do, and the computer produces a list. National Archives and Records, CIA Electronic Reading Room, National Security Archive, Library of Congress. Some allow online access, which I assume means on computer, as well as in person. Spark of hope lights in me. Learning how to utilize modern technology might intimidate some people, but I survived nearly being cut in half. I can do this. So we start by searching for my name in connection to World War II. It takes several tries, but eventually we find a death certificate for me. Cause of death? Fire. Body charred beyond recognition, no record of me enlisting. That all made sense. But shouldn't our names have come out after the war ended? I searched for the men in my unit. They're listed as long dead, and each with causes of death that left their bodies so damaged they weren't identified by witnesses. Were they all dead? Or like me, somehow still alive? Chapter 11, Mercedes' perspective. She ended up falling asleep, and when she wakes up the next day, Hugh is still there, and he smells like cedarwood and cinnamon, and she's just amazed that he's still here. And all she remembers is like falling asleep on his chest as he continued, or falling asleep on his shoulder as he continued to search things on her laptop. And so she asks him if he found anything last night, and he says, I didn't find anything on Inkwell, but there were places that said some documents could only be seen in person. Would you drive me to those places? She says, definitely not in those clothes, right? Because he's still in his dress uniform. So she's like, we'll have to go and buy you something. Flirty banter, back and forth. She goes and hops in the shower. She gets out and she puts on a little bit of makeup. She puts on a white t-shirt and some jeans, and she's no longer in her baggy clothes because she's trying to look cute for this little attractive guy. Well, this big attractive man, I should say, I guess. And so she steps out. He ends up like slapping her on the ass as he goes into the shower. And she says, modern men keep their hands to themselves. He says, I'm not a modern man. She's thinking, he sure isn't. This is so stupid. This is like literally, it's so fun. In chapter 12, Hugh's POV, the future is surprisingly not that different from my time. Some things have changed. Everything has more buttons, makes annoying sounds, and they're at the mall, they're shopping, blah, blah, blah. It's a little fun outing. It's a little relationship building cutie patootie time. Just them finding each other super uber attractive. They kiss. They also made out earlier too, when they were at her apartment still. They end up getting some groceries and a little dessert on their way home. And then she's about to like serve them up, you know, the little snack for the night. And she says, she stops and searches my face. Were you joking about being my favorite fork? No. Do you really think that your friends might be stuck in the other silverware? I raise and lower a shoulder. I'm hoping they are, because then there's a chance they're not dead and I can save them. She reaches down and picks up a box and waves it at me. We should use plastic utensils until we know for sure. Chapter 13. They went to the public library. They were not successful. They did not find anything. And now they're at the post office. And Hugh is putting on the charm with the postal lady, asking if she's got anything for apartment 414. And flirting up with her to get these letters. He does, obviously. He puts on the charm, even though I'm pretty sure this is like completely illegal and I don't even know how any of this works. We're going to suspend our disbelief for this portion, okay? He gets the mail. He gives it to Mercedes and he says, here you go if you want to go give it to Loverboy. But that was all before she slept in Hugh's arms, and they kissed again, and she realized that maybe she wants something with him if he really is real. And so she's starting to have all these like conflicting feelings, right? And Hugh is not very happy about it. The earlier easygoing Hugh is gone. His shoulders are tense and his jaw is clenched. Should I tell him I don't really want the mail anymore? The elevator opens to my floor and I stumble when I see Mr. 414 at my door. He smiles and waves. Hey, good timing. I was just coming by to see if you had any of my mail. The growl Hugh makes beneath his breath confuses me. He shifts one of his bags he's holding and waves the mail in his hand toward me. It's right here. I take it from him because he looks like he's about to shove it into my hand. Right here. Awesome. Those bags look heavy. Let me take one. He lifts one of the bags out of my arms and then accepts the mail. And you just had it on you. That's so convenient. I didn't have much of a choice. I had to play along. I was going to drop it by earlier, then forgot, and it made it to my car. I was going to put the food away and then walk it upstairs. Great. Glad I saved you a trip. Greg follows Hugh and me to the door of my apartment. We haven't met, he says to Hugh, but I heard there's a man living with Mercedes. Nice to finally meet you. I'm Greg. He'd heard there was a man living with me. Oh, Mike, I say quickly to Hugh as I open the door, hoping Hugh remembers the cover story for my cat. Hugh makes a sound that I'm not sure how to interpret, and Greg looks from Hugh to me and back. Are the two of you? If you're asking if she's single, she is. Hugh says in an indifferent tone that cuts through me, completely single. Greg's mouth opens and then shuts it as if he was about to say something and then changed his mind. The interest that sparks in his eyes should have moved me, but it doesn't. I retrieve the bag from Greg and thank him, and I close the door in his face. Hugh. His back to me. Hugh drops the other bags on the table. His shoulders are bunched with tension, and I don't understand why. He spins on his heel and starts toward the door. I'm going out. I need some fresh air. I rush to block his exit. Wait, don't go. Mercedes, step aside. All I need is a walk. I'll be back. The feelings bubbling in me are too intense to express. I want to reassure him that Greg ceased to matter the moment that we met, but Hugh clearly announced he and I are not together. One good day together didn't make a relationship. Still, there is no denying his mood shifted after seeing Greg. Could he be jealous? Is that even something that you can ask a man? I don't have the nerve to. Instead, I say, thank you for getting the mail for me. He nods without meeting my gaze. Are you upset that I didn't tell Greg your real name? He shakes his head. No, and I'm not upset. Please don't. He picks me up as if I weigh nothing and gently places me out of his way. My mind scrambles as I imagine being with someone that strong, but before I say anything, he's gone. Chapter 14. Hugh's POV. Still the modern day. He's on his hot girl walk. I'm several blocks from Mercedes' house before I slow my pace and address the reason why I bolted. Watching Mercedes fawn over Greg hit me hard on many levels. Because obviously he's jealous. Obviously he's developing feelings very quickly for this woman, right? Let's not lie to each other about what's happening here. Sorry. We had to cut because I'm texting my friend about this because I'm literally losing my mind over this freaking book. And obviously, you tell anybody about this, they're going to be so incredibly confused about the premise of what this book possibly is. And they asked, does she have a platoon of... They asked, does she have a platoon of men that need polished off? Dude, it is the most insane thing I've ever read in my entire life. That's absolutely crazy. Anyway, so Hugh is on his hot girl walk, like I said. He's just reflecting on life and how everyone he's ever known is dead, and he just, he just wants to mean something to somebody. He thought Mercedes would be this, like, tie that he has to the world, but he's just getting heartbroken and just bad feels. He ends up walking past a bar, and this woman and man step out, and the man is being a D-bag. And so he ends up, like, telling him to leave her alone, and then more of the guy's friends also stumble out of the bar asking if he's okay. I look the three men over as I rub my chin. There's a chance I no longer have enhanced strength or the ability to heal, but does it matter? I glance at the woman and decide that it doesn't. I crack my knuckles. I would have stepped in and taken these men on before the war even started. Sometimes a man has to stand up and protect those around him, regardless of what it costs him. You heard the lady. She wants to be left alone. Hey, if you've seen my stickers, I don't have my bottle around me, but I have the one that says, I love when abusers get abused. This is going to be one of those highlighting moments where I get to read about this man beating the ever-loving crap out of these three guys. Oh, I love that. Love a good fight. Love a good honorable man. So he goes on to beat all of these guys up. It's a great fun time. And then she says, thank you for helping me. That was so amazing. And he says, I'm happy to have been of assistance. She steps closer. You could have my number? Because that's the whole reason is that guy was asking for her number and she said no. And that's where all this went sideways. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. But he says, already taken. It isn't a lie. Mercedes is all I crave. She graciously smiles at my refusal. All the good ones are. Thank you again. You're welcome. I fold my arms across my chest. Do you have a ride? I just called for one. She looks at her phone. It's almost here. I'll wait with you until you're safely in it. I said, oh, the bar's in hell. But that's, again, hot. And then she gets in the car. She gets in this car. And then he gets approached by some shady man that says, hey, you want to make a quick buck tonight? And asks him to join a fight club, which he agrees to because he wants to make some money for Mercedes, because he feels really, really bad that Mercedes had to spend her own money to buy him groceries and clothing and whatnot. So a few hours later, I walk to the back office of the warehouse to retrieve my payout. The man who had arranged me to participate in the matches opens a cube-shaped safe and removes a stack of money before closing it again. This is so funny. They try to pay him out. They don't give him what they owe him. He calls them out on it, and they're like, you're not going anywhere. You work for us now. 80 years, and people aren't any smarter. I'm tired, though, and not looking for another fight. Pay me what you owe me, and I'll be on my way. You're not going anywhere. You work for us now. What the hell, dude? He said, I shake my head slowly. I don't work for anyone. I'll give you one final chance to pay me before I break a few of your bones, and just take the money. He grunts like I made a joke that he didn't find funny, and then calls out an order, and two men appear at the door. I roll my eyes skyward. In my day, people like you would have followed a certain code of conduct. It doesn't have to be like this. So he beats them up, twists the handle off of the safe, and despite the amount of money inside, I count out what I'm owed and take only that. As I turn to leave, an older man in an expensive suit fills the doorway. He takes in the carnage with fascination rather than fear. Holy shit, you're gonna make me rich. I wouldn't count on that, I say as I pocket my cash. I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. That's cute that you believe that. I laugh and I glance around, and then I step closer to him. Before you even think of trying to stop me, ask yourself, do you really believe I don't already work for someone, or that I'm the only one capable of this? So what, you're a cop? I laugh again. The people I work for don't believe in government or laws. I'm nose to nose with him. I'm leaving. The question you should ask yourself is what story you should tell your people about what happened today. Because if I hear you're out there talking about me, I'm coming back, and not alone. Don't bother to tell your wife or children goodbye. Jesus, because we'll wipe them out right along with you. Oh my God. The guy visibly pales. The guy swallows visibly and pales. Don't threaten me. I shrug. Stay in your lane, and I'm no threat to you. Clean this up and forget I was here. We don't have a problem. Or die wishing you made better decisions. Your choice. Oh my God. What the hell? This is not the same guy that I thought this was. And he realizes he is not the same man that he thought he was, because as I head back to Mercedes, I'm conflicted. There was a time when I was the good guy, or at least I thought I was. Now I don't know what the hell I am. Oh my God, we're 61% of the way through the book, guys. What's going to happen next? In chapter 15, we're back in Mercedes' POV, and she is having a little bit of an existential crisis, trying to talk this out with her cat, Mike, right? While Hugh's out playing bad boy at the fight club. And she's talking to Mike. She's like, well, everybody else could see him too. Like, he even interacted with Greg and the people at the store, so obviously he's not a figment of my imagination. And I even fell asleep and I woke up, and if this were a dream of some sort, like, I definitely would have woken up by now. So let's worst case scenario this. I could find out that he has a mental condition and an obsession with silverware. Everyone has issues. Greg probably cuts his toenails in the living room. Greg, the upstairs neighbor, probably cuts his toenails in his living room like an animal. The point is, I'm not perfect, not even close. So it wouldn't be fair for me to expect perfectionism from someone else, right? And maybe it would be wonderful to be with someone that I didn't have to hide my weirdness from. I glanced down at myself in the pink linen dress I wouldn't have previously imagined feeling pretty in. I'm not changing for him. He picked out the dress for her at the mall, by the way. That's part of the deal. He was like, I'll put on whatever your dumb modern clothes are if you let me pick out a dress for you to wear. I'm not changing for him. People should stay true to who they are, but let's face it, I wasn't even trying to look good anymore. I used to like to dress up. I also used to have friends, and I don't know what happened to me. The world closed down, and I became comfortable with my life being smaller, but it's not what I want. Do you see? I came here to shake myself out of that funk. I want to be more than I am, to experience more. Today was magical, and Hugh and I didn't really do anything. I like Hugh, and I like who I am when I'm with him. You don't have to remind me that it's too early to know. I'm not saying that I can imagine spending the rest of my life with him, but like he said, I'm single, very, very single, and women my age already have had multiple sex partners. So what if I want to have sex with a man who believes he served in World War II before he was accidentally transformed into a fork? I'm going to. Oh my God. And so then she decides that she's going to cook some dinner for him for when he comes back. And she wants to get lingerie to seduce him or whatever. This is so funny. But as she says this, and that's what she's thinking, there's a knock on the door, and she's like, oh my God, it must be Hugh. But when she opens it, it's Greg. And he has some flowers as a thank you for getting his mail for him. He takes them, and since she can't take them with her because she's about to go on her little adventure to go and buy lingerie and food to make him dinner, since I can't take him with me, I walk into my apartment with them, and he follows me. My father often bought my mother flowers. I don't have a vase because no one, not even me, buys me flowers, but I place them beside the sink. Even though I wish the flowers were from Hugh, I'm not going to throw them in the trash. From a few feet away, Greg says, wow, this looks old. What's in it? He opens the top of the Inkwell box. Silverware, cool. Looks like real silver, is it? Don't touch that. I'm at his side in a heartbeat, closing the box. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the flowers, but I was just heading out. Oh, of course. I just love antique things. Me too. Thank you again for the flowers. Oh my God, I just realized. What if Greg ends up with one of the utensils? Is this all foreshadowing? Is this all going to be interconnected? But he eventually leaves, saying, thanks again. Sorry for making it awkward. I hope we can be friends after this, because obviously she's not interested in him in that way. You know what I mean? Clearly it went a little bit sideways. So she gets on the elevator. She ends up spotting a woman my age who's retrieving her mail from her box and stop. We've walked by each other countless times since I moved in, even ridden in the elevator together, but I've never said a word to her. Today, when she glances over her shoulder at me, I smile and approach. Hi, I'm Mercedes from the second floor. I'm Desiree, she says, third floor. If you'd ever like to get coffee or go for a jog, knock on my door. I'm apartment 227. Her expression is open and friendly. I'd love that, thank you. I hate to jog alone in the city, and I'd love the company. Great, I say, anytime. Chapter 16, back into Hugh's POV. He's back at Mercedes' apartment. It is unlocked when the apartment door is unlocked when I return. I call out to her, but she doesn't answer. A quick search of the apartment confirms that she's not there. The dining room table is set for 2 with wine glasses. For me? Mercedes has been nothing but kind to me, and how have I repaid her? At the first sign of Loverboy, it acted like a jealous schoolboy and stormed off. Ridiculous. My only excuse is that even if I even allow myself one, is that my entire life is upside down and my feelings for her are the only thing that makes sense. I can't imagine a worse way or time to meet someone, but that doesn't change how excited I am to see her again. Looking for a hint of where Mercedes might have gone, I enter the kitchen and freeze when I see a bouquet of flowers laid out beside the sink. A bouquet? Did she buy flowers for me as well? I pick it up. There's a small card with a name on and number on it. It's Greg's. I curse. I shouldn't have told Greg that Mercedes is single. That was the green light he was looking for. That little fucker didn't waste any time. The idea of a guy from the fucking the idea of this, like, gentleman saying that fucker is so funny. Didn't waste any time. I opened the refrigerator and I scanned the contents. Steak and vegetables were prepped on plates, ready to be cooked. I slammed the door. For me or for Greg? Is she with him now? A scenario plays out in my head and my temper rises as it does. I imagine her puttering around the kitchen thinking about me until Greg shows up with that bouquet, and then what? Did he kiss her? Did he carry her up to his place? Is he effing her right now? I shouldn't care. She's not mine, but I want her to be. And so he spirals into this, like, negative thoughtville, and then he sees the utensil box, and I lift the cover of the wooden box and take in the neat rows of silverware. Are my friends in there? If so, someone made a mistake when they put me in charge of saving them, because I haven't discovered a single useful thing about what has happened to us. My thoughts return to the award ceremony, images of us all laughing and joking right before we realized everyone, including the servers, had left. That shouldn't have been enough to concern us, but somehow we'd known. There had to have been another sign, something we saw, something I can't remember. I shut the cover, but the action doesn't stop the memories from tormenting me. In the beginning, we questioned the orders we were given, debated on the ethics of some of them. Over time, with each mission we completed, we questioned less. We were on the right side of history, and everything we did was for the good of humanity. But was it? We handed whole families over to our government, confident that it was the only way to prevent a weapon unlike the world had ever seen from being completed. Compassion left us until we acted without kindness or guilt, just a tool wielded by those who went on to use those scientists to do the very thing that they told us that we were preventing. We didn't save the world. We didn't save any of the scientists who begged us to free them. If my friends are indeed trapped in that silverware, maybe they deserve to be. Maybe I do as well. Glancing back at the box of silverware, I shake my head slowly. I hope none of you are hoping I'll save you. Nothing we did mattered. We failed ourselves and humanity. I thought I was a hero, but in reality, I was most useful as a fork. That last thought echoes through me as everything goes dark and cold again. I am no one and nowhere, but this time I go there certain I deserve it. We are nowhere, and it's now. In Chapter 17, Mercedes' perspective, she returns, shifting bags from one arm to another to unlock my apartment door. I roll my eyes as I realize it's unlocked. I could blame Greg for distracting me, but I was already distracted by my plans for the evening. Hugh, in his response when I tell him I think we should have sex, is all I'm going to be able to think about. He has to say yes. As I close the door behind me, I groan. I need to calm down. It's impossible to, though. I know I shouldn't have told the young man who cashed me out at the pharmacy the reason I purchased so many different types of condoms was because I didn't know what kind he would like. Ew. Girl, chill. Girl, chill. Oh my God. So she's in the apartment. She calls out to see if Hugh is back at the apartment, and there's no answer. That's okay. I'm glad he's not back yet because that gives me more time to prepare. She puts everything away and goes and takes an everything shower, watches a few tutorials on TikTok, and then applies her new makeup that she bought. It's not every day that a woman loses her V card. I intend on doing it while looking good. Deciding what to wear wasn't difficult after I remembered how Hugh's eyes widened in front of the lingerie store. Oh my goodness. Right, she's all dressed up. She's a little hottie, right? She goes to the kitchen in only the lingerie to start making dinner. Only after I turned on the stove and placed the steaks on a pan in the oven do I notice the pile of money on the counter. A few $1,000s. Hugh had promised to repay me for the food and clothing. Had he gone to the bank and withdrawn this to do that? Girl, the bank? The bank? The bank? Okay, yeah, totally. Yeah, did he go to the bank? I don't know. Touched, I bring my hand to my heart. That must be where he had gone. He should have told me. I thought he was upset with me, but really he just wanted to repay me? I shake my head. I wonder why he didn't pay for it himself then. because having a bank account doesn't fit into his fantasy of being from the past. Oh my God, girl. I place the vegetables in the oven and I talk myself in circles regarding what I'm hoping for. Repaying me might force him to admit the whole story about him serving in World War II is a lie. I don't want to be with a liar, however, considering I told Greg I had his mail and I didn't, I probably shouldn't judge. At least I know Hugh isn't a moocher. When he comes back, I'll tell him I like man with a good imagination. People say role-playing keeps things interesting, and I'm willing to find out if that's true. If he knows that I'll accept him as he is, maybe he'll trust me with the truth about him. Maybe like me, he just wants to be more than he is. As dinner gets cold, eventually I put the food in the refrigerator and go to the couch to wait for him. After a while, I wrap myself in a blanket and decide it's okay to close my eyes for a moment, confident that I'll wake up when he returns. Chapter 18, 2 months later? What the fuck do you mean 2 months later? I'm still tying the laces on my running shoes when Desiree knocks on my door and walks in. Oh my God. So they're about to go on this little run walk thing. She's new to the area. She's not socially awkward like I am. She grew up in the Midwest and I'm pretty sure has never met a person she didn't like. We both work remotely, but she uses her flexible schedule to explore New England. Okay, cute. But she comes into the apartment this day, asks for a glass of water, and when she goes into the kitchen to get it, she spots the, antique silverware. And so she says, "Did this belong to your parents?" "No, I bought it at an estate sale." "What is it?" "Just silverware." "Can I look at it?" "Sure." "It looks old." "It is, 1940s. She picks up a spoon. My grandparents had a set that they received as a wedding present, but it went to my sister. I didn't think she'd ever use it. Do you? Not anymore. You'll probably think I'm crazy, but there was one fork in that set that I used all the time. I'm still kind of sad that I lost it. Wait, so when he turned into a fork, did he just magically go directly back into this box? He didn't just turn into a fork on the ground? He somehow got sucked into the box I thought this would have been solved immediately because she would have gotten home and there would have been a fork on the floor and she would have said, "Oh my God," and then picked it up and would have been like, "Oh my God," you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? Mercedes then goes and picks up one of the spoons out of the set and is checking it out, and Mike jumps on her, Mike the cat, and so she falls down and the spoon goes flying, and before Mercedes can go and pick up the spoon, Mike swats it under the refrigerator. She gets down there and she reaches her hand and she finds the spoon, but she also finds a fork. It's her favorite fork. She's like, "Oh my God, my fork. I thought I lost it." And so Desiree says, "Sometimes things we think are lost are merely hidden from us until we're meant to have them again. It could be an omen." She says, "An omen? Of more things coming back to you." "Hugh," she's thinking, "I want to believe it." This is... Oh my God. So they go for the jog. Jesus Christ. I can't do this. They leave to go for the jog. Right. Desiree's like, "Okay, well, you ready to run?" And Mercedes says, "Yeah, do you think it would be crazy if I brought the fork along with us?" Desiree says, "Crazy is a term used by those who choose to limit themselves to what is comfortable for them to believe. Don't ask anyone for permission to be you. Embrace what makes you happy." A huge smile spreads across my face and I tuck the fork into the side pocket of my running shorts. I never believed in omens. Well, not good ones anyway. It was always easier to expect bad things to happen. What if I didn't look at life that way? What if I let myself believe in possibilities and happy endings? Hugh, come back to me. Chapter 19, 75% of the way through the book. It's Mercedes. After this extra long jog with Desiree and several online meetings addressing the issues that could have been handled via email, I'm restlessly pacing the living room. After showering, I change into the pink dress that I bought with Hugh. And now she's trying to figure out how to turn this fork back into a man. She holds the fork up and she says, "Are you in there, Hugh?" I whisper. Nothing. I turn the fork over and run a finger across the mark on its back, and as I do, memories of Hugh flood in. I close my eyes and remember how it felt to wake up in his arms, the scent and feel of him, his touch, his kiss, the way he got my humor. A woman could spend a lifetime with a man who made her feel as seen as he did. If only I was brave enough to tell him what I wanted. Giving into impulse, I take the fork with me to the living room and place it on the coffee table beside my laptop. She ends up talking to a couple people online about, this whole super soldier turning into silverware thing, and government heroes don't live happily ever after. They get unmarked graves when they become a bigger risk than they're worth. I hope that's not why we've never heard of them. Chapter 20. Mercedes, another day, another early morning jog with Desiree, shower, online meetings, break for lunch. I make myself a salad and decide to eat it in the living room while I sort through emails. My laptop is open and I'm ready to dig in to my meal and my workload when I realize I didn't grab a utensil. And this time she chooses to use the old fork. And when she does and she eats her salad, this is the best salad ever. It's ridiculous, delicious, defies logic how good this salad is with this fork. Oh my god. And for some reason, how did we even get here? A bit of dressing sits on the silver above the tines. I lick it away and remembered how Hugh said he knew the taste and feel of me because he had been in my mouth. My heart begins to race as I remember the feel of his lips on mine. Blah, blah, blah. I give in to an impulse and lick the entire length of the fork. She ends up touching herself, a fork clenched in one hand, fingers of the other doing other stuff, and the fork starts to vibrate in her hand like it did before. Please no! You can imagine what happens next. At least she holds the tines in her hand, and then she puts the other end of the fork on something special. Oh my god. And so obviously the vibrating fork makes her have a good time and closes her eyes in doing so, and when she opens them, bam, Hugh's there. Is anybody surprised? And then they end up banging in human form. And this dumb bitch, she's thinking, there's a chance that Hugh has really good timing and returned just in time to find me getting off on a fork. Or I glance at the couch beside me and the fork is gone. I don't understand. He pulls me onto his, okay, yep, not reading that. He says, I don't either. I thought I was gone. I didn't think there was a way back until you were there, all around me, feeling the nothingness with you. There is no me without you, and I'm okay with that. Sorry. You're the only thing I missed and the only one worth coming back for. I know it's soon, Mercedes, but I can't do it halfway. I want you. Not today, but for my own. Always. Say you feel the same. I missed you. I'm jealous. He starts talking about seeing the flowers and thinking that she was with what's-his-face. She confirms that she was never with what's-his-face. And that everything has just been this big misunderstanding and that she doesn't want to do it halfway either. And it's a very incredibly long spice scene. So it's a pretty intense spice scene, and then at the end of it she's like, hey, can you just admit to me what you really are? And he's like, I really am a fork, you dummy. And she says, but I want you to prove it to me. And he says, if I try to prove to you that I really am sometimes a fork, will you promise me something? Anything. If you have to F me again to bring me back, do it. And she's like, that's an easy promise to make, no matter what form I'm in. Oh my God. And so she says that too. She says, oh my God, he really thinks he can turn into a fork. What will he do when he realizes that he can't? Will that cause a psychotic break? You don't have to prove anything to me, Hugh. I do, and that's okay. He makes a face, grunts, makes another painful face, grunts again. Do you need to use the bathroom? I ask. He looks like he's pushing something out. His hands fist, and he brings them to the sides of his head. Why can't I f***ing do this? Why can't I ever get anything right? And then right before my eyes, with a hazy burst of light, he disappears and a fork. My favorite fork falls to the floor. Oh my God, he really is a fork. My fork. I fucked my fork. I was forked. Fork is said 118 times in the book, by the way. I rush to my knees beside him. Hugh, I'm sorry, I didn't believe you. Come back. Nothing. I pick him up and I cradle him in between my breasts. Don't you dare leave me now, Hugh. Can you hear me? Nothing. Vibrate if you can hear me. Now what do I do? This is my fault. He told me he wasn't sure he knew how to come back. What did he just ask me to do? F him to bring him back? How? Girl, what do you mean how? You literally just did. What do you mean? You literally just did. Oh my God. Okay, so she does as she told him that she would, and then he comes back and is back into a person. Chapter 21, later, lying in Hugh's arms beneath the comforter in my bed, I trace along the strong muscles of his chest. I like the way you see the world and who I am with you. And he says, you're sure you want to be with a fork? There's a vulnerability to him that melts my heart. It's too late to ask myself that. I'm already forked. He laughs and groans. You went there. I did, and I would do it again. Oh my God. With a serious expression, he says, you need to know that sometimes when I'm asleep, I change color to match the pattern of my blanket. And she responds, if I have cheese, I fart so loud it wakes me up. He barks out a laugh. I shrug and wrinkle my nose at him. I thought we were sharing our secrets. Oh my God. He says, Mercedes, does nothing shock you? I was just intimate with a utensil to help you shapeshift. Do you really think seeing your skin take on a plaid design could compare to that? And then they talk more about superpowers, and it's like kinky real fast. Not that anybody should be surprised by that sentiment, but it happens. All I know for sure is that I'm falling in love with a fork. Chapter 22, Hugh's perspective. This is the second to last chapter of the book. I wake to the cat sitting on my chest, tapping my forehead with one paw. He meows silently, our eyes meet, and feels like a pivotal moment in our relationship. The cat has hated him the entire time. I know it was you who shoved me under the refrigerator. He holds my gaze, bringing his paw to his mouth as if the need to clean my scent off is greater than his guilt. His expression when he lowers his paw says, I'd do it again. He moves on, though. He ends up cooking Mercedes breakfast. They have a little bit more romantic back and forth. We get a little bit more backstory about his, previous life. He grew up in a little farm in Massachusetts, how close he was with his sister. And she, talks to him a little bit more of like, well, how did you get the money that was in the kitchen? He talks about doing the whole fight thing. She's like, oh my God, you could have been hurt. He says, I was, duh, but I told you I heal fast. She says, wow, you really are like a superhero. Mercedes, don't build me up into more than I am. I'm just a man who wanted to do something important and ended up not making a difference at all. The gifts the government gave me, the only person they saved was me in the end, and I'm not sure I deserve to still be here. Do you know who says things like that? I shake my head. Superheroes. Thank you for seeing the good in me, even when I'm struggling to. You're gonna be okay, Hugh. I'll help you. This is so silly. In chapter 23, final chapter, Mercedes POV, weeks later, she's working, but she can't help but keep looking at Hugh, who is working on his own laptop. He went to a couple more of those cage fights, saved up enough money to get himself a laptop, and so he's searching around, trying to do what he can to figure out his past and his journey and whatnot. They paid to get like an illegal ID for him, so at least he has something so they could open up a bank account together. And she says, together, oh my God, I'm not alone anymore, and every day is better than the one before. Hugh Michael Wilson, that's the name that we decided on. Wilson was his grandfather's first name, and the middle name? Mike had walked away in a huff when we told him we were naming Hugh after him. Nothing makes Mike happy, not since he was neutered. Life is good. Hugh is incredible. Not perfect. No man is. He's stubborn. After 2 weeks together, he decided he should meet my parents. I suggested we wait until he has full control over when he changes into a fork. My parents are open-minded, but I don't want to explain that side of our relationship to them. He argued that he didn't feel right about living with me until at least looking my father in the eye, shaking his hand and promising to take good care of me. I probably shouldn't have told him that that was an outdated practice. He folded his arms across his chest and clattered to the floor in fork form. Arguing with Hugh would be easier if he could change himself back. We've been experimenting with his shape-shifting, but so far he can't. His first transformation happened simply from having him in my mouth. We tried that, but it wasn't enough. I have to not only be intimate with him, I have to be yearning for him. That can be difficult in the middle of a disagreement. So the day we argued about my parents, I put Hugh on the counter and went for a jog with Desiree. Returned and only then brought him back. I don't feel bad for him. He totally milks the whole I can't revert back unless you're intimate with me thing. Sometimes he'll look me in the eye, wiggle his eyebrows playfully, and bing, he's a vibrating fork again. That little stinker. I don't actually mind. Once or twice I may have argued with him over something I didn't care about just to see if I could get him to change. The twinkle in his eye right before I succeeded told me he knew what I was doing and that it became a little game for us. I definitely can't take him home to meet my parents yet. If I didn't think it would attract more attention of whatever government agency had recruited him, I would do one of those "Am I the asshole" TikToks. Hugh's old-fashioned and faithful. None of that sounds as sexy as it is, but he's devoted to taking care of me, and in a way modern men never offered to. I feel not only safe with him, but treasured. I forking love you. Oh my God. He barks out a laugh and then puts his laptop down before taking mine from me and putting it to the side as well. I forking love you too, Mercedes. One day soon you'll be Mrs. Hugh Wilson. Are you asking me to marry you? Who's asking? You're mine, forever, Mercedes. Today, tomorrow, forever. For better or for worse? Till death do us part. A thought comes to me and I voice it without thinking. Can we have children? Would that be safe? Would I be birthing cutlery? Oh my God, girl. If so, I hope we have a spoon. Jerk, you could have just said you don't know. And like, as they're having this discussion, she gets a phone call from Cheryl, who is one of the people that she was talking to earlier about doing research and like bouncing ideas off of about the whole Inkwell thing. Cheryl says that she has some leads, but she'd like to follow up and she wishes that she had more information. And so Mercedes tells Hugh, she's like, hey, I told her that I got all of this information from my uncle, because that's how it would be like believable that I would have information from like 1940s. So we're going to have to do something. Hugh's lips purse. If it'll help my friends, I'll tell her whatever she wants to know. I told her it was my uncle who told me about Inkwell. Who would I say you are? We might have to be honest with her. My breath catches. How honest? Is she single? I frown. Why? He taps my nose gently. Not for me, but if she doesn't have a man in her life and is open-minded, you could lend her a spoon. What do you mean? Oh my goodness gracious, you guys. And that was a lighthearted utensil romance. Honestly, pretty cute. I'm honestly not that bad. It was cute. Don't look at me that way. Don't look at me like that, okay? You're the freaks that voted for it. 40% of 4,000? What is that, 1,600? 1,600 of you voted for that, so I don't even want to hear it. Are we gonna have to read the rest in this series? I think we might have to. I think we actually might have to. And luckily, they're all on Kindle Unlimited, so... Oh, there's 4. What's the 4th book? The 4th book is called Serviced. What is this one about? Oh my God. In this one, the main female character finds herself an unexpected heroine in a reverse harem tale surrounded by 8 World War II super soldiers who are as tempting as they are chaotic. Falling in love with sentient spoons, forks, and knives, it's absurd, testosterone-charged mayhem, and yet love always finds a way. Oh, this is crazy. Cautionary warning, utensil dynamics are highly unconventional. There's a battle brewing that can only be resolved with the elimination of Inkwell. There will be violence and heartbreak, but justice will finally be served. Am I really about to read the entire freaking series of this utensil thing? Is that what's really about to happen to me? I'm like genuinely intrigued, and I think all of these are under 200 pages. Oh, we're about to slaughter my Goodreads history. Oh, it's on. Okay, I think I actually might, which means you guys are probably going to get some extra silly silverware content at some point. How goofy. Oh my gosh, guys. That's so fun. Okay, next up. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. What else do you want me to say? I don't think there is anything else. The only thing is to tease the next video, which will come out later this week. I don't know which one it'll be yet. It'll either be the dinosaur one or the gargoyle, and then I'll do whatever's left over next week along with something else. Who knows what I'll do? You just have some of that to look forward to on the horizon. I don't have exactly like a set film schedule, but I kind of do. I have like a rough working list that I'm going through. So I'll get that into the rotation of like bonus content weeks that I do for you guys. So whatever, I'll see you Thursday with the next iteration of ruining my digital footprint. And yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I am so incredibly grateful for this community. You guys are all phenomenal, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy that you're here, and hopefully you had a couple laughs with me along the way. Okay. Bye.